Hi, this time I wanted to talk about two important things. When the game master communicates information to your character, how to relay that information without repeating things. We talked a bit about this in Rick's video in the recent live stream. I'm going to put a link in the description to that video. And I also want to talk about how to handle social interactions or encounters, challenges in a tabletop role-playing game, especially putting emphasis on roleplay. Let's start with the first section of this video. There are going to be many occasions where the game master is going to reveal things to the player characters or one particular character. Like I said, maybe you have a ranger examining some area. Maybe you have a character that is able to decipher a particular message. The game master wants to communicate that to the player, but in order to enrich the narrative, to boost the narrative, you also want the player character to communicate this information to the other members of the group. So I would recommend that this needs certainly a team effort. The game master needs to communicate the information quite directly and dryly. Don't try to elaborate on it. If the ranger spots some tracks that he identifies as the tracks of a quaggoth, you identify the tracks belonging to a quaggoth, or a quaggoth was walking through this area. And so the ranger can turn back to the group and say something like, the rumors about quaggoths attacking the zone are true. There was a quaggoth moving around here. At the very least, it could be a case of a single quaggoth causing disturbances. That way you enrich the narrative. It doesn't feel like you're just repeating what the game master told you, but in order for that to happen, the game master needs to be a bit dry about the communication of the information, and the player needs to put that flavor into it. It applies to anything. Another message, you decipher some message, and the game master could tell you, according to legend, there is a castle somewhere deep within Darkhaven Swamp. So now let's say the wizard that was deciphering it could say to the members of the party, we are in luck, lads. Are you willing to go into Darkhaven Swamp and search for a mysterious castle? And you put a lot of flavor into it. It's all about your own particular style, but also taking what the game master has communicated in a dry way and really enhancing it, putting it into the context of the adventuring group, how you communicate with others, and the context of the game world as well. Now, when it comes to social interactions, I would highly recommend that you give priority to roleplay. If you're trying to convince someone, and that is, if you're a game master and the player is trying to convince someone, and the arguments presented are convincing, are logical, and they make sense with the particular psychology of the non-player character that the player is interacting with, make it an automatic success. That was a success, period. But if the arguments are not that convincing, you're kind of like, more or less, you have mixed opinions about it, make it a check. This could apply to any social situation. Matters of seduction, diplomacy, tricking someone, trying to fool someone into doing something. If the roleplay is convincing, make it an automatic success. If not, if there is some doubt, some questions about it, it's not very solid as an argument, as trickery, if perhaps depending on the situation, or as an act of seduction, make it a roll. And if the attempt is pretty much terrible, then it's an automatic failure. But like I said, in most cases, like I always say, rather, in most cases I would recommend that you give the player a chance, make it a roll, and even if it's a very absurd argument, you could actually, maybe the non-player character had this moment of, he wasn't exactly very, very bright in that moment, make it a success if the dice result in a success. So, just as general guidelines, if the player roleplays the situation adequately, make it an automatic success. If it's more or less, give or take, make it a roll. If the roleplay, or rather the failure within the roleplay is abysmal, because you could actually be roleplaying in a correct way, but the arguments presented are just terrible, make it an automatic failure. As simple as that. This also applies to many other things like traps. If the character is trying to disarm a trap, depends on the puzzle, if there are buttons or levers, or maybe like the typical book in the bookcase that you pull and something happens, or if you lift a statue and it's connected to the trap or whatever, and it deactivates the trap, make it an automatic success. If it's not, well, make it a roll. If the actions were terrible, make it an automatic failure. So those are just some quick tips. I hope you found them useful. Let me know your thoughts on how you handle diplomacy checks, seduction checks, if you think this is the right way of doing it. Also, let me know what I told you at the start. Do you agree with this way of communicating information? Maybe you have some other ideas. Of course, this is within a physical table environment. If you're handling things online, maybe you want to like write a little message and send it to your player. Or even in some people like to write things down in pieces of paper and you hand it to the player that was doing the tracking, check, or anything, investigation, deciphering, and then the player reveals the information to the members of the group in his or her own style. Once again, thank you for watching my videos. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you and see you later.